Are you tired of self-doubt holding you back? Have you ever wished you could have the confidence to face your fears, go after your wildest dreams, and the tools necessary to live your best life? Hey there, amazing listeners. I'm your host and author of How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And I've made it my mission to help you break free from self-doubt and embrace confidence. Subscribe now and join us as we unlock the secrets to unshakable self-assurance. Let's dive in. It was a beautiful spring day in North Carolina where I call home. It was March 16th, 2022. I remember it vividly. I looked out of the blinds of my bedroom window. I had a bottle of sleeping pills in one hand, and my plan was to go to the garage, start my car, take those pills, and never wake up again. I was crying so hard, I was shaking, I was screaming. And really all I wanted to know is, do I have a purpose and why am I here? And when I stopped crying and took a pause, the words that came to my mind changed the trajectory of my life forever. And those words were, your life has meaning, but you need to give more. Repeatedly after that, I heard the words, give more, give more, give more. Now, at this time in my life, I didn't know what giving meant. I thought I had nothing to give to anybody. What value do I have? Until I started actually doing it. So I hope that story resonates with you. It's a true story. This was my journey not that long ago. So today I wanted to bring on the world's top expert in this subject of giving so he can share with us how we can implement it in our lives and ultimately what impact that will mean for you. My guest today is Bob Burg. Bob is a renowned speaker, author, and thought leader, best known for co-authoring the international bestseller, The Go-Giver, which I just checked Amazon, and it has over 10,000 reviews on Amazon and over 24,000 on Goodreads. This book has sold over 1 million copies and has been translated into 30 languages. It emphasizes the philosophy of giving value as the cornerstone to personal and professional success. Bob, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tara. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is such a powerful topic, giving. You know, going back to my story, at the time, I thought I had nothing to give anybody. And maybe you've ever felt that way before. So I know you've got all of these, the series of books. You're a high demand speaker. You travel all around, right? Delivering this message. But I have to ask, one, why giving? Why this? How did you get into this? And why is it important to you?
Well, in terms of how I got into this topic, my background is sales. And one of the things I noticed is from pretty much the time I first started in sales was that the most sustainably successful sales professionals were givers in terms of they were always looking out for the best interest of their prospective customers, clients, their current customers, clients, for people on their team, for people in their company and so forth. And so, it was kind of natural just to see, you see patterns of what works and what doesn't. And so then you kind of look at, well, what does it really mean? So when we say giving, because in John David Mann's my book series, it all begins with a premise, and that is that shifting your focus, which I think is where it really begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And Tara, it's not for any kind of way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical reasons. Oh, just give and good things will happen. Not at all. It actually ties very closely, very deeply into human nature, and that is when you're that person who can take your focus off yourself and place it on serving others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire, right? When you can move your focus off yourself and onto helping them solve and overcome their problems and challenges, when you can make it not about you, but instead about moving others closer to happiness, people feel good about you. They feel great about you, right? They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell others about you. They want to be your personal walking ambassador. Now, it also happens to be another element of human nature that it feels great to us as well. That's why we say not only is it more fulfilling, is it profitable, it's also very fulfilling. Not only is it very fulfilling, it's also very profitable, right? So it kind of works for everybody.
I love that. No, it's so true. I follow three cornerstone in my business. It has 3 simple steps: give first, give often, and do it with love.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great philosophy.
It's a great philosophy. You know what I've found is when you're the first to give, it's not expected. Nobody expects to be given to on any given day. So you automatically stand apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you give often, it signifies abundance within you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you pair that and you do it with love for that other person, genuine love, not expecting anything in return, just giving value because you love them and you want them to succeed, how are you going to have a shortage of customers, Bob?
Exactly. Well, exactly. You won't. Yeah. So you make a great point, and it's not surprising that you have a very successful business.
Oh, thank you. Well, how did you get into this? I mean, I have to ask because giving wasn't always so near and dear to my heart, right? I had to kind of go on this rocky journey, go to the rock bottom. That's why I said that right off the top, because it was not always something that was commonplace for me that I practiced. So I would love to hear, from you and your journey, how this came to be. And I know that you said that it provides increase in your business. Was it always second nature for you, or is this something you've always practiced?
Well, I mean, I had a great example growing up and having 2 parents who lived their lives that way. So I got to see it in action. I just got to see that they were great people who were always looking for ways to benefit others. So it was something very easy for me to embody, only because it's something I was used to. Now, again, as you grow up, though, you see different people do things in different ways, and some of those ways work and some doesn't. And sometimes people who do things that are kind of yucky seem to still do well, right? And other times people who do good things, it doesn't come back to them. But again, as mentioned earlier, you see patterns develop. And for me, it was very obvious that the sustainably successful people that I was witnessing, these are people who were always focused on giving. Now, not in a self-sacrificial way. And I don't want anybody to ever think that that's part of being a go-giver. No, not at all. It's not being a doormat. It's not being a martyr. It's just looking out for how you can assist another human being, right? How you can make another person's life better. One of my favorite sayings, and I have this, I actually taped to my computer. It's by Michael A. Singer, who wrote a number of fantastic books. The Untethered Soul, Surrender Experiment. Well, his latest one is Living Untethered. And he writes, I'm looking to my right, so I'm reading this word for word. He wrote, the highest thing you could do with your life is to make it so that every moment that passes before you is better off because it did. That's the highest definition of the purpose of life, that every single moment, every person, every moment that happens to unfold in front of you is better off because it passed by you. It was raised a little. And to me, what Michael Singer says is, really just sums it all up. Again, nothing self-sacrificial about it in any way. It just makes life better. Wallace D. Wattles in his masterpiece, 1910 masterpiece, The Science of Getting Rich, talked about adding life, right? So when you bring value to others, you're adding life to others. You're adding increase to the lives of others. So when done correctly, there's nothing about it that in any way, counteracts. It always just adds to everything. Yeah.
So much wisdom. Well, you just said my favorite book of all time. No offense. Go-Giver's up there too.
Okay. One of my favorite books as well. The Mad, you're talking about The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace.
The Science of Getting Rich.
Wonderful book. Absolutely.
It's a wonderful book. Timeless wisdom. You read that book right now. It's incredible to think about. It was 1910 was when that book was published.
Right.
1910, but you read it and it's applicable today because it's
sure is. Sure is.
Right? It goes into the deepest aspects of not only building wealth, but it's increase, like you're talking about, adding increase of life to yourself, adding increase of life to others, having a deep and profound relationship with gratitude. And that actually, Bob, gratitude is something I talk about a lot, but the origin point to gratitude wasn't gratitude. It was giving. Giving led to gratitude. I think that's important. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think it's a wonderful point. I think you could also say if you're feeling grateful, though, you're also much more likely to want to give value to others. It's probably not an either or as much as an and. But sure. I mean, I think you start by saying, I'm going to live in gratitude. I'm going to be grateful for what I have, for what's there, for all the blessings, big and small. And it, doesn't have to be for a, private plane or a yacht, although if that's what somebody wants and they can afford it, all the power to them. There's nothing wrong with it. But just for life itself, for being able to see, hear, smell, taste, touch, to have a roof over your head, to be able to have a cup of coffee that tastes delicious and really doesn't cost very much, and to think of all the work that went in from so many people just for that cup of coffee to actually happen. I mean, it's amazing. It's like there's I think this is from the 50s or 60s. It's a little essay called I Pencil, which talks about everything it takes to make a pencil. No one person in the world knows how to make a pencil or could do it by themselves. It takes all this division of labor, all these different people, all coming from different places. And we can be grateful for all those things, right? For those littlest things. And when we live in a state of gratitude, abundance just follows us because we're already abundant when we live in gratitude. Yet, if you're not grateful, then you can have all the blessings in the world, including that plane or yacht or whatever, and you still can't be happy because if you don't live in gratitude, it's the same as not having any of those things. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, gratitude is a decision. It was something I had to learn when I was in my 30s. It was when I, went through what I guess today would be called Bob 2.0. Back then, that wasn't the known term, but it's when I really decided I needed to upgrade my life and up level a lot of things about my life. And one of them was gratitude, since I did not live in gratitude naturally. That was not a natural thing for me. And that was the single biggest thing that has made a difference in my life from the moment I decided to live in a state of gratitude.
Ooh, you're speaking my language. So this podcast is called Grasp Confidence. It's after my first book as well. And GRASP, the first letter, it stands for gratitude, right? For me, I liken gratitude to the law of increase. When we feel gratitude, when we express gratitude, we're at that abundant state, aren't we? So it's as if we have a piggy bank. I like to think of it as kind of like a piggy bank. If you haven't expressed gratitude, it's like putting coins into the piggy bank. But this opposite could be said if you express negativity, if you dwell on things that don't serve you and that kind of thing, and you don't express gratitude, it's as if you're taking coin out of the piggy bank, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So gratitude continually adds to our lives, and not just our mental lives. Of course, it does change our brain chemistry and ultimately physiology, because we know it can rewire our brains.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has an impact on those around us, just like giving would, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so powerful, Bob. And this is such an important topic. But I do want to touch on as well, because a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe this is new to them. They've never heard of this. They haven't read your books, but they're interested in growing their businesses and increasing their sales, right? What is one maybe way or something that they can implement today with giving in their business to really take them up to that next level?
Well, I think it's understanding the difference between price and value when it comes to, what you're giving another person. So let's say, for example, price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It simply is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you also make a very healthy profit. Of course, Wallace Wattles talks about that in his book too. So let's say, as an example, we take an accountant who you hire to do your taxes, and this accountant charges you $1,000 to do your taxes. That's her price. Okay. But what value is she giving to you that makes it so worthwhile to you to do business with her? Well, through her experience, her knowledge, her interest in you, getting to know about you, your business, what you're looking to accomplish. She is able to save you $5,000 in taxes. She saves you countless hours of time, freeing you up to do what you do best. She provides you and your family with the security and peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly, right? So she gave you well over $5,000 in value, or what Wallace Wattles would call use value, in exchange for $1,000 price or payment. She gave you more in value than she took in payment. So you feel great about it, but she also made a very healthy profit because it was well worth it to her to exchange her time, her experience, her knowledge, her energy, right, for that $1,000 fee. So both of you came out ahead. In fact, in any free market-based exchange, and when we say free market, we simply mean no one's forced to do business with anyone else. They do so on their own volition. And in this case, there should always be two profits, the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. So the first thing we've got to know is that not only, though, are we giving this person more in value than what they're paying for, while we make a profit, of course, but it goes above just the intrinsic value of the product or service, because our competitors can do the same thing basically that we can. It's the entire buyer experience that we provide. It's how do we make them feel at every single touch point, from that initial contact, through the relationship building process, through the follow-up and follow-through, through the sales process, the referral process. And so, what we need to do is make sure that we're communicating what we call the 5 elements of value, which are excellence, consistency, attention, empathy, and appreciation, right? And to the degree that you are able to communicate those elements of value at every single touch point, that's the degree that you take competition and price out of the issue, because you don't want to be selling on low price. You want to be selling on high value. When you sell on low price, you're a commodity. When you sell on high value, you're a resource.
Mm. Well, that is MBA in about 10 minutes. So
Oh,
that
thank you.
it's actually worth more than an MBA. So this is ultimately what we need to succeed, right? And it's about giving someone more use value than you take from them in cash value,
Ah, yeah,
right? It
yeah,
is the same thing.
yeah.
And it's about adding increase of life to that other person,
Mhm.
solving a big problem, saving them time, saving them money, saving them resources, whatever it is.
Exactly.
And when you can add to somebody's life, you're not a commodity.
Right.
And you can raise your prices
Mhm.
if needed so that you
Right.
have a better way of living. And you know what happens when you can do that? You can hire people and give them jobs. Look, you just gave one more person increased life. And that person has a family and
Mhm.
they're able to afford a different lifestyle for their family because you first gave and again gave with love for that other person. That's so, so, so important.
Right.
And it's profound, Bob. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you.
And anybody, any business can do this and should do this. I guess my question is, and I've gotten this question before from people, how do I know I'm giving away too much value? Is there such a thing?
So I don't believe it's a matter of giving away too much value. Okay. I think it's a matter of doing things inappropriately, or in a way that doesn't serve you as it serves the other person. And let me explain this a little bit. We talked about value first of all, in terms of the relative worth or desirability of a thing, which means by definition, value is always in the eyes of the beholder. Okay. It's not what we think is of value about what we do or what we think they should think is of value about what we do. It's about what they believe. So one way in which people, and I'm going to come back and answer that other question, which is more about being taken advantage of, which is the other point of the question about giving too much, right? But
Mhm.
first, when I say giving inappropriately, it's we may believe that, and because as human beings we all tend to come to the world from our own set of beliefs regarding how the world works, our model of the world. So what we find to be of value is what we think others probably do, and it's not necessarily true. So if we're doing things for another person and we're wondering, well, they don't seem to be appreciating it, or, well, they're not, responding, or they're not wanting to do business with me, we've got to check ourselves and make sure that we're giving in a way that they believe is of value. Otherwise, we're really not adding value because it's always in the eyes of the beholder, the other person. Now, the other part is where you're saying, can I give too much value in terms of, can I be taken advantage of? Well, first, anyone can be taken advantage of. Okay. I mean, if you live life, you're probably at some time going to be taken advantage unless you just never talk to somebody. But what we're talking here about a pattern of such. Okay. And what I tell people is, if you're someone who, constantly feels as though you're being taken advantage of, it's not because you're a nice person. It's not because you're a giver. It's because you're doing things again, to quote our friend Wallace, you're doing things in a certain way that creates the environment for you to be taken advantage of. Right. So the first thing you want to do is acknowledge it, because it's only when we acknowledge an issue that we're even in a position to be able to do something about it. Otherwise, you're going through your whole life wondering why you're always being taken advantage of and why people are so mean and why you're, and so forth. So first, and then once you understand, now you've got to ask, okay, why? Why is this happening? Why am I always the one in every one of these situations where someone's being taken advantage of, and that someone is always me? And here's the thing. There's always a payoff for doing so. Now, it's unconscious. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, hey, I wonder if I can find someone to take advantage of me today. That's not how it works. Okay. It's not conscious. but there's a payoff. And it could be that, unconsciously being taken advantage of gives you an excuse for not having been successful. Okay. Well, I would, but would have been, but people are always taking advantage of me. Or maybe it's the person who loves the attention. Oh, so-and-so is such a great person, but they're always just so giving, but they're always being taken advantage of, right? And there's a payoff there too. It could be that something from your past, upbringing, whatever, has told you you're not good enough to not be taken advantage of and to succeed. And again, or you might not have the tools to be able to recognize when someone does. So all these are very legitimate. These are human things. There's nothing to disrespect about. In fact, I would congratulate the person who is acknowledging this as an issue. Okay. But then really doing the work to discover, why is this? Because there's nothing about being a go-giver that is in any way congruent with being, again, a doormat, a martyr, or being taken advantage of.
I completely agree. And it's about giving someone else increase of life, but giving some back to you as well. This is so important. And honestly, it's really hard to give if our cups aren't full. That's something I've realized, and it's pretty common. I feel like there's a lot of really well-intentioned people out there that want to give a lot, give to others, and then negate themselves in the process.
Sure. Well, that's also an issue.
And that's an issue, right? And it's not the other person's problem. It's a personal problem.
Absolutely.
But we take it out on other people as if it's their issue.
Yeah. And, remember the message that the world gives us, and it's almost from the time we're born, a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, cultural mores. The negative anti-prosperity messages are just immense. They're all over the place. And so we accept things without even, again, unconsciously, we accept it without thinking, without checking our premises and asking, well, why is that so? How does this person who said this, how do they know this? Where did they learn it from? On what principle is that based on, right? And so it can be very easy to have anti-prosperity memes going on in your unconscious while consciously you'd like to earn a lot of money. Well, we know when the two battle, the conscious and the unconscious is always going to win. That's why I'm a big believer in really studying abundance and prosperity. John David Mann and I cover it in Law Number 5, of course, in the book, but we it's on a very surface level. There are people who just go deep into this topic. People like Randy Gage, people like Sharon Lecter, Lisa Peterson, Ellen Rogan, David Nagel, the late Bob Proctor, Ken Honda, who they write on this. They have books, they have blogs, they have videos, they have live program, and my suggestion is tap into those. Watch those videos, read their books, study their information, because there's so much of that awful anti-prosperity garbage that comes in from the world around us. We need to proactively seek out those pro-prosperity messages, get them into our heads and get them into our hearts.
I couldn't agree more. It's our birthright. We were meant to live in a state of abundance. Nobody was born with a destiny of complete failure, of impoverishment, of unprosperity, of these things. We were born to have increase. And part of that is we're creative, right? As human beings, we're creative. And the highest level of pay of anybody I've ever known have been creators who are clear communicators. Creative people who are clearly communicate value. Now, when you can do that, you think of, when I say Apple, we don't think of the device necessarily. We think of Steve Jobs. He was that creative, that innovator, that very communicator. And when you're creative like that, abundance follows.
Yeah.
When you can create something out of nothing and add value to somebody else's life, it will change yours in the process.
It will. Yes, it will.
I think so many of us are really on this journey of success right now. We really, want to get into this new year, have a lot of prosperity. Um, I think one of the best pieces of advice for people is if you can add value to somebody else's life, it will come back to you with such abundance if you are open to receiving it.
Sure.
But you have to be open to receiving it, right, Bob?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's where you got to be able to consciously know where you are in terms of that, right? So, and that's why I say, if unconsciously you have all these anti-prosperity messages, until you can make the unconscious conscious, you're not in a position to do anything about it. But once you are, now you can start studying the issue, learning about yourself, those things that are holding you back in that regard, and learning what it kind of takes to to equip yourself in that way.
I love that. Well, so much wisdom. I absolutely loved our conversation, just like I knew I would.
Thank you.
But if you could let people know, where are the best places to find you, Bob?
The best place is just to go to burg.com, and pretty much everything is there.
Wonderful. Definitely check out his books, The Go-Giver, and support Bob in his content. I'm following him on LinkedIn. Very inspirational stuff. I really enjoy his posts and all of his work. And I encourage you to check out his work as well and follow along on his journey. Guys, thank you so much for listening, tuning in today, sharing this with your audiences, and subscribing and leaving a review. I read each review personally, and I always love to hear the favorite takeaways that you've had from our guest. So thank you, Bob, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Grasp Confidence. Thank you for joining me today and investing in yourself. Remember, building confidence is an ongoing journey, and each step you take brings you closer to the empowered, fearless version of yourself that you were born to be. Don't forget to visit my website, follow me on social media, and purchase my book, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Stay confident.